can get my shirt fixed. Hello. Is this loud? All right. So, I am Michelle Nauman-Brown. I am FDR's youth advocate. I came into the position with FDR almost 3 years ago when I was contacted about the Michelle video that was being used at network meetings. The video was of my life while I was in care. I was part of the child preparation for permanency sessions. And the video life book was given to me as a gift, and it actually became much bigger in the spectrum of my life. I was placed into foster care at the age of 2. I was in 28 different foster homes. I was in congregate care settings. I had a failed adoption and even a 6-month stint in Cornell Abraxas boot camp. When I was 18, I decided to leave care and really do some trial and error on how to live life. In my position at FDR as a youth advocate, I travel the state speaking to many different groups about my journey. I talk with youth themselves about the importance of finding permanency before leaving care. And my purpose today is to help give you a little more understanding about the obstacles that youth face in themselves when permanency is discussed, as well as what triumph can look like for a youth when they do connect with the importance of permanency. I started my work with FDR simply because I had more of my story to tell. Little did I know that I was one of thousands of youth that were in very similar situations. I wanted to be an example of what not to do, to be that person that youth could look at and see the struggle, but not have to endure the angst and the emotion of what my choices had caused me to feel. This quote is so real and it speaks volumes. I want you all to read it and just let it sink in for a minute. I'm not looking for what it means to you, but just to read it and let it resonate with you and the work that you do with these youth, because this truly is a reality for them. Let's talk a little bit about the definition of permanency. There are many different definitions. Merriam-Webster's definition is continuing or enduring without fundamental or marked changes, lasting or continuing for a very long time or forever, temporary or not changing. Now we could sit here and we could talk about how change is slow in the child welfare system, or how we don't want anything to change because we like the way that things are. So let's think about how hard it is for us to change. It could be as simple as the way we drive to work, or our daily routine, the cereal we eat, or even the milk that we drink. Now, most of you would answer that change is hard. Yet we ask our children of the system to change everything about their lives once they come into care. And then we want to talk to them about permanency. A little ironic, right? Casey Family Program's definition involves having a relationship with at least one adult that's characterized by 5 points: parenting, lifelong intent, belonging, status, and unconditional commitment. We each have our own definition of permanency. Some youth that I've had the pleasure of speaking with has defined permanency as biological, stability, a home, not just a house, or even food. These may not be things that we as adults think of when we think of permanency, but these are some of the obstacles that kids and youth are torn between when speaking of permanency. When a child has some form of permanency in their life, such as reunification, adoption, legal guardianship, or even just that one adult that Casey Family Programs had outlined for us, they are given a better chance of success in adulthood. The possible outcomes for youth who age out of the system without permanency are absolutely frightening. As you saw in the video, they are at risk for becoming homeless, incarcerated, addicts, or even young parents. I am an example of what a child that didn't have permanency after leaving care can look like. I was homeless. I became a mother at 19, and I was almost put in jail. We know that life could be very different for our youth that have come to find permanency, and that they have an understanding of what it really means. They have stability, they have purpose, they finally feel like they have some control over their own lives, and they have a family. Permanency is something that's very difficult to talk to young people about. It can cause them to shut down or just shut you out. But it's our job as professionals to keep reiterating and keep repeating that information. Keep telling those statistics. Keep letting them know that we truly do care and we want to see them succeed. Our kids tell us many reasons why permanency just isn't for them. But we know from experience that that's just not the case. Sometimes I think that if we took ourselves back a few years with how we process the information, we would be able to relate better and easier to their issues than we actually do now because we have that knowledge. We think differently because we know more. We've had those life experiences. We need to be that voice of reason. And Sandra said it perfectly in the video. It's our job to find out what's holding them back. What is scaring our youth from becoming part of a family? I did some research on adoption statistics from 2010 to 2013 on children under the age of 18 in the state of Pennsylvania. Over 8,000 children were adopted statewide, according to the Child Welfare Outcomes Report. Looking at where we were as a state to where we are now, that's something to get excited about. Best practice has changed, new laws have been put in place, and the system itself is making amazing changes. Trying to keep our youth in the same school district if in fact they do have to move to another home. Our foster parents having more say in what a child can and can't do due to the prudent parent standard. Our youth themselves being able to have more normal lives. Health coverage for those that do leave the system. This one is huge. When children used to leave the system and they needed medication and they couldn't afford it, they just didn't get it. Now our youth have the same opportunities as those children that were never in care to begin with. I'm giving you this information for you to see that I know that the system has flaws, but that we as a whole are making and taking great strides at developing new strategies and practices for better outcomes for our youth and children who desperately need us. Change is happening, so kudos.